by fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the show, folks. It's the Hog Style. We're going to get right into it tonight. And what can we really say? The Redskins dropped one against Dallas tonight in a game that looked eerily similar to the first one. Let's do this, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Sean. The crew's all here. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh God, you know it was a soul-sucking game tonight. I don't know how else to describe it. It was soul-sucking. It's like there was a large parasite that had attached itself to my head and slowly sucked the life force out of my body. That was what it was like watching.
An alien grabber, like the things from
Yes,
Alien?
exactly. I mean, that is what happened tonight. It started out okay, you know, and it just slowly, that alien just kept sucking and attaching and biting and eating and sucking. By the end of this game, my body was a lifeless shell of abused flesh.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
wow.
I accept that from you, Steve, because, you know, I had this moment against the Saints, and you guys heard me rant after the game.
Yeah.
So you guys know exactly how I felt then. I actually have no feelings towards this game. I'm not upset. I'm disappointed that we lost.
I'm with you, Jamal.
But at the same time, you know, you can't get your feelings hurt if you didn't expect much. So I'm good to go.
I am so with you on that, my man.
Well, you know, I liked your response, Jamal, because I sent out, in our little Hogstye group chat thing during the game, it's something like at halftime, good God, what did we watch? What did we just watch? And Jamal, your response was great. I loved it. It was the Redskins. Yeah, we could end the show on that right now and just be done.
Yeah.
The Redskins suck.
Might as well. Alex, you got anything to add before we jump into the unfortunate statistics I'm sure Steve has prepared for us?
I mean, if I've been, punched in the face once or twice in my life, that was better than what we just had happen. So I'll just leave it at that.
Wow. See, I'm with Jamal on this. I predicted a loss on this all along, I think, before the season even started. Steve, you've always been calling a win on this one. I don't know where you were getting that. But, yeah, you guys expected way too much, clearly. I mean, Steve's getting face-huggered by the aliens over here.
It's not about expectation, Sean. It's about wanting to win, and it's about being a team player.
Okay.
Yeah. You got hope and respect for this team still, I see.
Yeah, I will
Big
be.
mistake.
I will be fair. I don't want to make it seem like I'm gloating or that I'm happy that we lost. I don't want that tone to be I don't want that tone to be picked up from me. I am disappointed that we lost, but I have no feelings. I just literally have no feelings.
You're a Redskins realist, not a Redskins idealist. It's the difference in philosophy here.
Listen, I've predicted my share of losses. I am certainly not Mr. all the time optimistic about this team. I just thought we would see a better performance today. I really did. And I hate losing to the Dallas Cowboys. I always thought we would take the game in Dallas. Call it misguided optimism there, I guess, if you want in that respect. But
no, I'm with you, Steve. And you and I disagree on a lot of things. But losing to the Cowboys, it makes me feel sick. Like, I'm going to probably want to puke. And that's not because of how much I've been drinking, but I'm just going to want to puke in general. Anytime we lose the Cowboys, I feel that way, and that goes back decades.
Yeah.
Well, shall I run through some numbers? I mean, we have to do it. It's our
it's
our job. We're here to provide the audience.
Pull the Band-Aid off. Pull the Band-Aid off.
So, all right, we'll start with the Redskins. Kirk Cousins was 26-37 for 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's listed as having 2 interceptions, although neither one was his fault. Quarterback rating of 84.4. Samaje Perine, 12 carries for 38 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. Byron Marshall got some carries, 4 for 12. Receiving wise, Jamison Crowder led the way, 5 receptions, 67 yards on 7 targets.
30 drops.
Yeah, and 30 drops. That's right.
Yeah.
He's only chalked up with 2, I guess, technically speaking, but it seemed like a lot more than that. Ryan Grant was 4 for 63. Samaje Perine, 3 receptions, 31 yards. Josh Doxson, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 26 yards, and it goes down from there. From the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott was just 11 for 22 for 102 yards. frankly, if I wasn't looking at the stat, I wouldn't even think he'd even thrown 22 passes in this game. Quarterback rating of 93.4. Alfred Morris, old friend Alfred Morris, 27 for 127, 4.7 yards per attempt with a long of just 15, which means he gashed us.
Filled in nicely for Elliott.
Yeah, which means he gashed us repeatedly over and over again. Receiving-wise, Des Bryant was 5 for 61, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. Terrence Williams, 2 for 21, and the rest of it isn't worth talking about. Jason Witten had a touchdown. So that was offense.
All right.
Look.
Where do you guys want to take this? You want to start with the Cowboys? No.
I want to start with the Redskins offense, because I think the only thing good that happened today was Kirk Cousins. I mean, Chris Collinsworth in the game broadcast went over and over and over again, repeatedly talking about how good Cousins played, and considering that the offensive line was just an absolute jailbreak all night, to the point where Jay couldn't even call anything but dump off some screens for the entire second half, even though we were down. I thought Cousins played really, really well and really showed a lot. I refuse to blame the first interception in particular on him when the ball hits Jameson Crowder dead in the hands and he careens it off like a volleyball.
No, I think that's the third interception he's thrown this season that's been a total tip ball interception. He had one last week, one this week, or tonight, and then he had one on Crowder, a few weeks earlier. Like, this is the third interception that's been a total tip. It's absurd.
And even the second interception, big fat hulking offensive lineman gets a paw on it, it gets tipped. I mean, I just can't. I have a hard time putting too much blame on Kirk for that. Now, he looked better in the second half than the first half. He did have the fumble. You got to blame him for that in the first half. Yes. He didn't look particularly sharp in the first half.
Yeah, so much pressure, though, all night. He was taking such big hits. It's...
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
got to take that
was Kirk to me. What did you guys think of Kirk Cousins' performance?
I mean, I can't put it all on one guy, but at the same time, no one's helping him at this point. Crowder was terrible. Doxson was terrible.
Harris had a concussion.
Yeah,
I don't even know he went out.
neither did the Redskins.
Yeah. At one point, we were down to a 4th and 5th running back.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I said this earlier. This so much reminds me of the year that Jim Zorn got fired. It's absurd. Just the number of injuries. Now it's like, hey, we're going to wear all red uniforms, and it's our worst game of the season, just coincidentally, just like when Jim Zorn did, which is just a weird thing. I'm not saying there's a thing. I'm just saying it's a coincidence. But it just reminds me so much of that season when Jim Zorn got fired. And everything that can go wrong goes wrong for the Redskins all over the season. It's weird.
Jamal.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that just makes constant mistakes. It seems one, takes a big step forward and then 2 backwards, undoes all the good stuff with a sloppy mistake. We saw that a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry. Did I interrupt anybody just then?
Oh no, I just made sure everybody finished because you guys know this. I have a bad habit of cutting the ball.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and rant. If you have a rant in you, by all means, let it out because we need it tonight.
I have to be quiet. No, I don't. It's not a rant. But I just think that it's in terms of how Kirk played. I don't necessarily think he played. I don't think he played poorly at all. But I do think again, and for the plays that he made outside the pocket, and he made extended plays. There was some times where he took a sack. I think he could have at least tried to fight through. So, and those are really the only criticisms I really have for him. And one thing I would say, if anything, would be like the play calling on 3rd down. I'm not sure if he's able to. If they have audibles on hand in deck, like when they see certain situations. But when Dallas are playing the sticks, I think that there need to be some type of plays where there's screens involved. Instead of him checking it down, because I know we noticed this game he was checking it down to the running back Marshall very quickly.
Yeah, he was.
2 seconds and it's out of his hand. So if you're gonna run something, if you're gonna just check it down because of the fact that they're playing the sticks and they have so many in coverage, I think they had they're playing good coverage. then run a screen because they're in zone. They're not in man. Run a screen, get a receiver open, get some blockers downfield, and see what you can do from there. So especially if you don't trust your offensive line. So I mean, do something, get them in open field, get your players in open field, help yourself out. For the most part, I think Kirk played well. And I guess we can. I can't disagree with you about how the season feels, but I do think that if I had anything to say about this front office, I think that they're smart enough and they are reasonable enough to understand the type of season and the context that goes into why we are the way we are right now.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, the fact that Colt McCoy finished the game tells me something else is going on.
No. You're reading way too. It was 38 to 14, and Cousins had been beat up and hit all night. They just wanted to get him out of there, and there was no point to having the starting quarterback in there anymore at the very end of the game. You're reading way too much into that.
All right.
Yeah, I kind of agree with. Well, let's talk a little bit more specifically about Kirk Cousins, and we can tie that into a front office question after this. But saw some good things from him tonight. Just to be a little bit more specific, he had that crazy play where he's kind of flying backwards and he flings it across the middle. Who caught that ball?
James Crowder caught it.
Was it Crowder?
Yeah. You're talking about the nice Crowder play where he ran for an extra 15, 20 yards after the catch. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. The touchdown to Doxson was great. But to this point that you just made a second ago, Alex, it seems like something's always going on with him. You can't necessarily blame him for the interceptions tonight, but he's got a lot of interceptions. I mean, I don't actually have the number in front of me, but he's had a lot of interceptions this year, and it's kind of a characteristic of his play. What do you guys think in temperature check right now on Kirk Cousins? He's a $35 million man or something next year if we don't lock him down.
I think this is his best season. Not stats wise, numbers wise, last year was better, but considering the utterly absurd amount of injuries we've had and the complete lack of any sort of ball carrying threat at all, really, I mean, there's really nobody, right? And we're down to three wide receivers that are healthy, and dressed tonight. I think it's almost, unbelievable the numbers that Kirk has put up considering the circumstances, So I think it's his best year, and I think the Redskins would be foolish not to sign him. I know people out there are going to, we're going to get hate mail for that because we always do, but I don't know what else you want the man to do.
I mean, he's got.
Well, it seems like Bruce Allen's doing his
two more this game. That's
tonight.
Less than one a game. That's not bad.
Yeah. That's true. I think the thing is with Cousins, it's really to a point. Just to answer this, now it's really to a point where he may just simply be out of your price range. We're talking about $35 million 34 and some change with the franchise tag. Right. If you don't play ball off rips and take him seriously this offseason, then you're going to go through the same BS y'all was going through last offseason. Right. Or this past off season. So if you're not going to take him serious this time, and you're not going to give him a serious offer, obviously something that benefits both sides, but something that's fair for you so you can continue to build around him. If you're not going to take him serious, then just move on. But it just seems like he's way out of the price range. And that's not to say that moving on is the right thing to do. But when you miss the window of opportunity on a quarterback like Kirk Cousins in a unique situation that he was, we missed it by a mile. Then there's nothing you can do. So there is no other way to really put this because that window of opportunity is passed. You knew he was a quarterback that you can win with, but you BS on the contract. So now you really have to think about overpaying or going the route where there is no certainty.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I got to get this out, and this is above and beyond Cowboys, but I got to get it out because Jamal just stirred a rant in me. Because you're absolutely right. The Redskins have missed their window with this guy, with Cousins, and I don't necessarily think he's the second coming of Joe Montana, but I mean he is a quarterback you can win with. But contractually, the Redskins have totally screwed this up. And any of you out there who think that this past off season's 3-year offer of $53 million was in any way remotely approaching reasonable or an offer that was not going to be laughed at. You guys do not you guys do not know what you're talking about. And the reason is, number one, a 3-year deal was never going to cut it. Number two, one of those years was the franchise tag that he was already going to get, that he was going to get anyway. They had anyway. And so it was really a pathetic offer. The Redskins made zero real attempt to sign this guy, and the only reason they made that offer is so Bruce Allen could stand up and tell the public, "Look, we offered him $53 million guaranteed." The Redskins have been completely and utterly incompetent in their handling of Kirk Cousins, and the box they've placed themselves in. Jamal is absolutely right. They can't pay him $34 million. They can, but they'd be idiot.
No,
they'd be insane to pay. I wouldn't pay any quarterback. I wouldn't pay Tom Brady $34 million. I'd pay no quarterback in 2018. I would not pay any quarterback that amount of money, and they certainly can't do it for Kirk.
The only way I'd do it is if he's taking like $5 million every other year in the contract, something ridiculous like that. It's never going to happen.
Exactly. It literally has to be ridiculous. So, I mean, I agree with you, but it's just...
Not too long ago on this show, guys, we were saying, well, Bruce Allen, you don't want him necessarily, playing a GM role. You don't want him dealing with players, but he can structure contracts pretty well. I don't know, guys. It seems like just, to the point we're just making, this whole situation has been colossally bungled by the Redskins. And he continues to make, it seems like they're signaling just that they're making it so obvious they're not sold on him and that they don't want him, saying, we're seeking the best value, looking around, saying all the wrong things. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting.
So what are they going to do? Are they going to bring in Case Keenum and declare victory?
No, I mean, you can't do that. The only option they have left to them at this point, I think realistically, is you're going to move on from Cousins and draft a quarterback in the first round.
Except we're going to be, along the lines of 15, 16, 17 drafting.
So you're going to draft another Jason Campbell type.
Right.
And that's the only thing you can sell this team on. Because you have to realize it's also about what are you selling the fan base on. The fan base is a mess. I mean, we haven't talked.
The fan base has football PTSD at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to know why there's 20,000 Viking fans in the stadium, it's because the fan base has given up. We have no faith left in the fan base. You've used it up. Yeah. We have no faith in Dan Snyder. If the only way the fan base will come back is if Dan Snyder somehow falls off a cliff. That's it.
Well, look, can we steer this back to this game for a minute?
Yeah.
Because I think the other thing on offense we need to address, I mean, we can summarize, the run game was terrible. There's not much to say about that. But the offensive line, this was Ty Nseki's worst game that I've ever seen him play. He got beat by a drum.
Let's also be honest. He played 3
I know, but
he
played at right tackle in particular. DeMarcus Lawrence beat him, four times
kicked,
maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, he just got I don't know if Ty just had a bad day or what. But he looked terrible. The offensive line in general, this was the worst I've seen them play in several years.
Well, what have we?
It's not a line that needs just one more piece.
Well, it's a line that needs healthy pieces, frankly, because Trent is a shell of himself. Ty Nseki's a backup. The center that was playing tonight was on the street 3 weeks ago. Tyler Catalina was on the street 2 weeks ago, and he was the left guard. The left guard. So they really need help.
Morgan Moses can barely stand up because both his legs are basically.
He shouldn't have been playing today in the first place, but he knows he had no choice.
He shouldn't have been playing for the last 3 weeks.
And so it's not like like they need a piece. They have the pieces. All of them are on IR or should be on IR.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. Now, I mean, let's get realistic about this. I mean, we've talked to guys who, played O-line, and they said the hardest thing to do is switch from right side to left side. Ty switched from left guard to right tackle. That's
to left tackle at one point in time.
Yeah, and then back to left tackle, and then back to right tackle.
When Trent was out, he was the left tackle, so he played left tackle, left guard.
There was only one down or two down.
But he still played left tackle, left guard, and right tackle in this game.
That's absolutely insane.
And let's not forget, though, he practiced all week at left guard too. So it's pretty frustrating that you practice all week at one position, then somebody gets hurt, you got to switch to right tackle. You probably have a different technique from guard to tackle, and then you have to switch to left tackle for I don't know how many plays, but then you're
Two,
back at
I think,
right
at
tackle
most.
after
And
that.
by the way, Ty isn't healthy. Ty has
No.
this core muscle thing. I don't know if people out there realize, but he had surgery to repair like a muscle tear, a core muscle tear. That's I think what it was. And now he's playing NFL football again. So yes, he was terrible tonight, but Jamal's right. I mean, he practiced at left guard and ended up at right tackle. Against one of the top pass rushers in the league.
It's not a pretty picture. It's not.
No.
Yeah, not a recipe for success. Okay, fair enough. Anything else you guys want to add on offense before we talk about defense?
Yes, one final thing. Jameson Crowder, use Stickum, put super glue on your hands, something.
Yeah.
You need to cheat.
Cheat somehow because your performance tonight was substandard. This fumbling. First of all, he needs to never be on punt returns ever again. I'm sick and tired of Jameson Crowder being awful on punt returns and fumbling half of the punts that come to him. I'm sick and tired of it. Activate Keenan Reynolds for God's sakes. Let him try it.
Yeah, that was the exact thing I put out there on our Twitter
Keenan Reynolds
handle was find a way to get Keenan Reynolds out there on the field because. Okay, he was a quarterback or something.
He was a quarterback at Navy. He was Navy's best quarterback outside of Roger Staubach, basically.
Right. Okay, so put him out there. Give him a shot. Because I'm sick of seeing Crowder fumble.
Well, and Crowder is terrible.
I want to
at
give
punt
anybody
returns,
and
too.
everybody a shot to return punts for us.
Honestly, there's nobody left to return punts that's healthy, frankly.
I mean,
okay, if
Gruden
Reynolds
said
doesn't
Kendall
work out...
Fuller. He had mentioned him before, like in press conferences. He had mentioned Kendall Fuller. So, I mean, for him to say that there is nobody, and don't quote me, but somebody definitely did mention Kendall Fuller as a.
No, you're right. You're right. No, it was Gruden. You're right. It was Gruden.
Okay.
He has mentioned that in one of his weekly pressers. So yes, you're right. And Fuller never gets this opportunity for some reason.
No.
Yeah. So for him to say something like that, and then But see, this is the thing though. Chris Collinsworth is the one saying that we had nobody else. That's not true. Like these people still, even though they cover somebody, they have the one game a week, and they have to cover the two teams. They're not always accurate with the information they put out. They still speak in general terms. They only know that Jamison Crowder is a punt returner. They don't know that Kendall Fuller can return punts. They didn't see him do that. So, but the coaches had. The coaches have seen Kendall Fuller do that. So,
well, and I saw about a half dozen guys returning punts in training camp. Where the rest.
Well, Alex, you got to understand when football teams find punt returners, what typically happens is the coaches just try everybody who's a ball handler and says, "Okay, you go try it," and
sure,
they kind of. I mean,
know
that's
that.
what happens. Yeah. Even at the pro level, I think that's But listen, I mean, the Redskins punt return game is literally coming into this game was ranked 31st. Coming out of this game, it's probably going to be ranked 32nd. So I mean, put Ryan Grant back there. Maybe he can do it. Put anybody back there, but Jameson Crowder.
I mean, if you're at that point, put somebody back there who can fair catch.
Exactly. That's what D-Hall was doing. I'd rather have him back there. Because he could just goddamn fair catch the ball.
At least he can catch.
He'll at least, exactly. He'll at least
wave your hand and run to the ball.
Because Crowder's messed that up this season.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, Sean, but
no, that's another. No, you're good. That's another lingering problem. Sorry, go ahead, Jamal.
No, I was just gonna say before we move on, because I did want to add something on that, and it'll be quick. But I just don't. It's just crazy because of the fact that we said that. I think it was last week that Jameson Crowder had his most consistent game, and you feel like the Redskins do have weapons on the outside. They're just
career
not
game,
consistent. Yeah, they're just not consistent in their play weekly, and this is just another example. Jameson Crowder will have like the 30-yard catch and run. He made a play, but at the same time, you see the drops that we had. You've seen the mistakes that Jameson Crowder had in both receiving game and on the special teams. So it just goes to show that. For some reason this year it is not clicking in any phase in terms of receivers. Like they have not hit their stride, and just when you thought they did, it's a letdown.
You know what I think it is? Let me throw this at you, Jamal. Jameson Crowder thrived in a system in which he had Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson ahead of him. Deshaun Jackson being maybe the greatest deep threat to ever play the game, and Pierre Garçon, a prototypical number one receiver, And so there's
Right.
not a lot less attention paid to him. Well, this year he's really the primary weapon, and I think he showed that whether it's mental or whether he's just not good enough, he's kind of shown me that he can't be the primary weapon. And, I mean, I think we've exposed Jameson Crowder. Am I wrong?
Well, see, I can't say that you're wrong, but what I will say is that I do think that it is something mental. I agree with that note, but at the same time, when it comes to me, I don't necessarily say I'm sold on something until like it's evident. And with Crowder, I've never seen something like this before, so I can't say that he's been exposed yet. I have to see how he responds next year. But in terms of this campaign, this specific campaign, my mind is made up that he is not. He has been nowhere near the type of person he was last year.
Well, let me clarify.
to see how
Let me clarify what I mean by exposed. I don't mean to be exposed as like a bad player. I mean exposed as
I
a
know what you're
prime
saying,
as
like,
a
in
principal
terms-
weapon.
as
Yeah.
as a primary
Yeah.
weapon. Like, that's why I was saying, like, if he comes into next season as a primary weapon, that's why I was saying I just have to see it, because we have to see how he responds after a first year where he's the guy that's being counted on. So that's why I was saying I know
Okay.
you weren't saying he was a bad player,
Yeah.
but more so that in terms of the person who's going to be counted on the most and as the primary weapon, it seems like he's the one who's been struggling. So I just have to see. I definitely think it's something mental, but that's a challenge when it comes to any type of competitor. Doesn't even have to be football. So we have to see how it is next year.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking of special teams, by the way, what was an ugly one we let up there at one point as well? Talk about taking the wind out of our sails in the game. I didn't catch the name of the Cowboys player that ran that one back, but it was a beauty.
A Texas jerk.
Switzer.
Yeah, it was him.
Yeah.
Ryan
Oh,
Switzer,
that's
I
what it
think.
was. Switzer, that's right. Yeah, not a good look on special teams. We'll need to improve
No, it
that.
wasn't.
Okay, let's talk about defense. And what do you guys really want to say about this? Because 38 points, I mean, kind of speaks for
Well,
itself.
I think what
in a
you
way.
say is that the defense looked darn good for about the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. I mean, they gave up the one long drive,
Yeah,
but
they were fine the first half, and then they had no gas left in the tank come the second half of the game.
the offensive line. I think what
Yeah.
really happened is, I don't know what the time of possession was. We don't have the game notes thing yet, but I think the Cowboys' offensive line absolutely wore them down. Couple that with Zach Brown was really struggling because of his injury, even though he was out there. I think they just got worn down, beaten up, and by the middle of the third quarter, it was just over with for them.
Breland not doing well in coverage either, seemed like throughout the game.
Yeah, true.
Getting
True.
beat a lot.
See, I disagree with that, actually. I think he did good in, the first 2.5 quarters, and then he, just like everybody else, he ran out of gas.
Well, no, I agree. I would agree with that.
He was making plays in the first quarter, the second quarter,
He couldn't hang
even
with
into the
Dez.
third.
That's all it was in the end zone. That's really all it came down to. Those are the two biggest plays. He gave up 2 touchdowns at the same time.
Yeah.
Solid in coverage for the most part, but that one, and it's crazy because he actually plays Dez well, from except for last season. But he typically plays Dez Bryant well. So
Dez just out athleted him on that touchdown catch.
Yeah, he did.
it's just amazing because people think that he's not an elite 50-50 guy. But then again, he shows you that he is.
Dez's problem is his hands, honestly. He has the athletic ability. Dez's problem is he just doesn't catch enough balls. He was at about a little over a 50% catch rate. That's about what Terrell Pryor is. Terrell Pryor's a pretty good comp for Dez in some ways, because they kind of play the game the same, have the same issues.
Sure.
I feel like that's a statement that will get a lot of tweets at us, Steve.
Dez is more successful as a receiver than Terrell Pryor. Don't misunderstand me.
Right. We got to put that
Dez
disclaimer
played
on it.
receiver his whole
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
where
yeah. I'm just
Pryor
saying
wasted 5 years playing
they're
quarterback.
similar to me in that they both have elite athleticism, but their hands let them down.
I'm with you.
But
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
got you. Anybody stand out as having a particularly good game tonight?
no.
And on whose team?
Are we talking about the Redskins or the Cowboys?
Yeah.
I will say Anthony Lanier strikes me as a guy who could at least be a good sub for us down the road. But
I think that says a lot, Alex. The fact that the principal question from our host was, okay, who played well? And what you came up with is Anthony Lanier maybe showed he can be a good sub. That was the first thought that came to your head. It's one more thought. It's one more thought that I had, on this.
Yeah. I still think Zach Vigil could also be in a similar role at linebacker. I like him more than I like Marterell Spate.
I frankly think anybody that has hair like that needs to be featured in some way, shape, or fashion.
The gorgeous long
exactly
locks of Zach Vigil.
No, he earned the game ball just for that.
Listen, I mean, nobody played well on defense. I don't know what to say. There was nothing good that came out of this defensive performance, really. Who made the fewest mistakes?
We're playing a lot of second stringers. Let's be honest. No one talks about it in the games. Like Chris Collinsworth forgets about it, but it's a lot of second stringers playing with a couple of first stringers. But that's
okay. I have a couple injury updates. We're gonna know. You guys are gonna listen to this on Friday or later when we're recording this Hogstye late night style. So we don't have a ton of updates, but what we do have. Morgan Moses is going to have an MRI Friday on his right ankle, sprained ligaments.
IR.
Yes,
I'm calling it right now. Morgan Moses is done.
He has sprained ligaments in his ankle again. I agree. He's probably done. Zach Brown was in a walking boot.
Done.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's what we know so far.
That's pretty good.
Mo Harris is in concussion protocol. We know that.
Done.
P. Ryan, the reason why P. Ryan came back into the game is that he passed the concussion protocol. So there was that.
I'm still saying he's done.
IR.
Small shape P. Ryan.
Just all of them.
IR.
And the only other injury that we had was Preston.
I.
No, Preston Smith went out, but he came back in and played the rest of the game. So he appears to be fine. And Trent Williams.
Put him on IR. I agree.
Preston Smith is going to be on IR, and then he will be arrested for something, and he's gone. He's gone. They're all gone.
Or he's just,
so the bat and Trent
retire.
Williams was in and out, as we talked about. So
Trent Williams was deducted by aliens who will not return to Earth till 2999.
You can tell this is a Hogstye late night episode. So point is, I think the serious injuries are Moses and Zach Brown. That's what I was trying to say before I was rudely interrupted.
Yeah, man. I expect Kirk to be on IR too.
Well, if he has another game like that, yeah.
Yeah, might as well just put him on there now. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do game balls, and let's put the kibosh on this thing and call it a night. In fact, let's just call it now. Who's not going to give an offensive game ball to Kirk Cousins tonight?
Silence.
Nobody's hands.
I was going to give my game ball to Kirk Cousins out of an utter lack of anyone else deserving.
No, that's what I was going to do, too. I figured it might be easy to do process of elimination. Jamal, were you going to get creative with it?
No, I don't have anybody to give a game ball to. If I had to, I would give it to Ryan Grant because he played the smartest.
All right.
But
fourth touchdown of the year this year.
And touchdown, and then just overall, he was the smartest player on the field in terms of situational football and when to look for the football, things like that.
Crowder had a great situational awareness play on that long play. He came back.
But that doesn't really counter 2 turnovers.
I think I ain't gonna lie to you. Kirk threw him to that play.
Yeah, he did.
If you think about it,
you're right.
So all Crowder had to do was run to the ball, and the lane was right there for him. I'm not taking away from Crowder, but just saying that Kirk did throw him that. But I'm just saying I don't even have a game ball for somebody. I was just saying if I had to, I don't have a game ball.
I'm not surprised that Jamal Forrest is the one that's going to somehow find a way to work in a Ryan Grant is wonderful reference.
Yeah, man, you already know. You see it coming.
I like it. I like his reasoning. Alex, did you give one? Are you cool? Are you going with Kirk as well?
I mean, I guess you go with Kirk on this. The
motion passes.
I don't want to give a game ball on offense, but
you have
all right.
to.
So by default, I guess that's Kirk. On defense,
silence.
No one.
I know who I'm going to give a game ball to. I have one.
All right.
DeMarcus Lawrence. He gets my game ball. Honestly, honest to God, I'm dead serious. Occasionally, wasn't there one Super Bowl in which a member of the opposing team got the MVP award
on Dallas week.
No, you're right. I'm just kidding.
Really?
No, I'm not going to give DeMarcus Lawrence a game ball.
Really?
But
we got to walk you back from that ledge.
Yeah, I was just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But nobody on the defense gets a game ball from me. We're just going to put that ball back in the closet.
I agree. Let's not even do it. Put it back next to Tom Cruise.
If I'm giving a technical game ball on defense, how about Zach Vigil? Just because he showed up with the hair. And that's it.
He's got the good hair
Half
award.
of Life is showing up, and he was there. I like it. All right, cool.
Jamal?
I'm about to say I did have some thoughts. I know we breezed over the defense. So I guess I'll give some thoughts for, I know a lot of people are thinking about what the hell happened to the defense. But it's not in a good sense. It's not necessarily, this performance is not necessarily on the defense.
No.
And what I mean by this is more so when you're down 17-0, and then 24-7 later, I think in the fourth quarter you're down 24-7, and you are being counted on to get a stop. You should have never been in that position to begin with, and it's unfortunate because as well as the defense played in the first quarter, the 3 first half turnovers is what doomed the production, the point production for the Redskins. Yep. Don't even mind how they put up points. It just doomed the point production for the Redskins. So the defense is being counted on to make plays in a position where they should have never been in the first place, and they should have been playing with a lead in the fourth quarter. So it's just we seen this coming. If they were able to run the ball, it was going to be a problem, and that's exactly what happened. But at the same time, when you're put in that situation, it's not excusing anybody. It's not even excusing the defense, saying that it's not solely their fault. Like, they have to make the stops, but at the same time, they're in a position where they should have never been in. Period. Like, it's just that much of a fact. The Redskins should have had a lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And the turnovers was a direct 14-point swing in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even calculated turnovers into it completely, but I did do some math over the week. The offense alone had, before this game, allowed already 30 points, points off turnover and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's a lot in one season. And now we're at 37 if you add that special teams punt return. 37 points in one season that's not on the defense. That's an absurd number.
Hold on. Say it. So it's literally so you're saying
non-defensive points allowed.
Okay, I got you.
37 points.
That's insane. So do you have a rank, or are you not sure?
I don't have a data point to compare that
I got to look at every game, but that's got to be one of the top 5.
I don't know.
That's a good thing that we need to research. Figure that out.
Yeah, I'll look into it once we get into the off season. But it's got to be.
If somebody put a gun to my head and made me give a defensive game ball, I'd give it to Zach Brown just because he had 7 tackles despite being injured. So, if you want a positive, there you go.
Well, no one's going to put a gun to your head this week. I understand the struggle.
I don't think anybody on either side deserves a game ball.
No, I don't either. But if you make me give one, those are who I'm giving them to.
No, fair enough. All right, well, anything else you guys want to add before we let the folks go? Obviously, we'll be back with you guys
Let's summarize.
Week. But yeah, what do you got?
Let's summarize. My summary here is this game ended the competitive portion of the season. We are mathematically alive.
I thought it was
we are
over
mathematically well. If they had won out, we would have been 10-6. And this year maybe 10-16 doesn't make it, but they certainly would be in the middle of it. Mathematically, they are not eliminated because they can technically end up 9-7. But this is it, folks. Mm-hmm. This was really it. You don't go 1-4 in a division, and be eligible for
before
to make
this
playoffs.
game. We had a 3% chance of making the playoffs. Now it's got to be like
this
0.3%.
was it. This is it. They need to. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be here for you and covering these games and everything, but I'm just here to tell you this was the end for the season.
Mm-hmm. Well, People have to be ready for that, because even if we somehow snuck in, people know with the inconsistencies on this team and the way this team is, it's going to be another first round loss in the playoffs. We're not going to be able to hang with teams in the long run. So maybe it's better and more merciful that things get closed out.
Maybe
sooner.
so. And the other thing I wanted to say in summary is, I also think anybody out there who's blaming Jay Gruden for this mess tonight also is crazy. Considering at some point the players have to block, the players have to catch. And you can't blame the coach for that, And with the just the tidal wave of injuries, I don't know what you guys out there think that a different coach would have done better considering the circumstances. So I put this one on the players, not on the coach, this time at least.
Well, I mean, I said it on our Twitter. I put it on the players and I put it on the front office. The front office went out of their way not to sign a good wide receiver all off season. So I put it on that too.
Reaping the benefits of that. Fair enough. Yep. Well, we'll further dissect all of this fiasco and pinpoint where it all went wrong when we do the post-mortem on this season. But for now, we'll let you guys get back to your weeks. Have a great one, and we will see you guys next time right here on the Hogsty.